I just wanted to welcome everybody today. If you weren't able to make it to the last focus group, which was last Tuesday, I am going to take a moment and just show you where you can access the videos. All of these will be videotaped and accessible for you so that you can view them at a later date. From our main webpage, if you go to the accreditation website, and then the last bullet here, accreditation focus groups, you can take a look at the agenda, the presentation. If there was a handout, it'll be posted, and then also the video. It's there for Standard 1, and it's also there for Standard 4. After today's presentation, you'll have it there for all of the areas of Standard 2.
Have done a wonderful job of keeping us all on task. So I think one of the things that we want to make sure that has brought us together in terms of the accreditation process, it's really helped us look at the relationships from the President's Office, Academic Affairs, Student Services, Administrative Services, and how we really need to be working a lot closer, a lot more collaboratively, and the efforts that we need to do so that the campus can continue to move forward after we've gone through the accreditation process and the visit. So we're looking forward to that and to see where we're going to come out. I think we're going to come out pretty good. We have had our visit from our the accreditation team leader, the team leader, the site leader, and that was last week, and the President shared what those thoughts were. But I'm going to introduce Michael to come up for a minute, but we really, I think the essence of what we're looking at right now is how we blend all of the accreditation findings and the improvement plans. How do we blend that with the whole campus, President's Office, Academic Affairs, Student Services, Administrative Services, and really push the college forward as we get past the accreditation process. Okay, Michael?
Thank you, Joe. I don't think I have a whole lot more to add to that, but I think that you will find that the VPs are really modeling the behavior that we're communicating to you. So, for example, Vice President Ramirez is now invited to all of the Council of Instruction meetings, and I have been invited to all of the Student Services staff meetings, so which one of them is this afternoon. So we really are making sure that we're communicating with each other to make sure that we all know what's going on in our different areas. And I think that Standard 2 just does a really good job of saying, you know, student learning programs and student support services, those things have to work really well together. And of course, we've got the money man. We can't do anything without administrative services. So with that said, thanks for coming. Again, encourage your colleagues to continue coming to these events, and we'll hand it off.
Well, afternoon. Sorry for running late. Thank you for being here this morning. We're going to be continuing on our accreditation of what it is and what's important. I don't want to talk too much because I know we're pressed for time, but thanks for coming.
We're going to go ahead and start with Standard 2A, which talks all about the instructional instructional program. We have Angela Echeverry, Pat Flood, and Dart Ferris who are going to present.
Okay, hello. Thanks for coming. The first area we're going to talk about, well, Standard 2 is it's the largest section of the self-evaluation report, and it deals with student learning programs and services. So if you look right here, 2A is the instructional programs, which we're going to be talking about, and then for 2B, we have another panel. They're sitting right here in the front row, and then 2C, we have a panel for the library and learning resources. So we're going to talk, Pat, Dart, and I are going to talk about Standard 2, which are instructional programs and services. Okay. So what information does this standard cover? Basically, it wants to find, we want to examine the quality of our instructional programs. In other words, how do we ensure we are offering quality instructional programs leading to degree, certificate, employment, or transfer regardless of location or means of delivery. So that includes, of course, the online courses as well as any off-site programs. How do we assess our instructional programs to make sure that they're current, that we're improving teaching and learning, and that our students are achieving the stated student learning outcomes? And finally, how do we ensure academic integrity? So how do we respond to this standard? One of the things that we talked about a lot was how the college has developed, monitors, and evaluates academic programs. So many of you are familiar with the curriculum review process. We have a campus curriculum committee. We have a district curriculum committee. We also have 2 deans, a curriculum and CTE dean, who also help monitor and support the development of these programs. We have also an approval process for new online courses, so there's both a distance education committee as well as curriculum committee and the program review process. And that process then is coordinated by the Educational Planning Committee, or EPC, which involves annual unit updates and comprehensive reviews every 3 years. So this is just a list of some of the recent associate degrees that were developed here at the college. And you may notice where it says type of degrees, it's going to be either Associate of Science or Associate of Arts, and then the T indicates the transfer degree. So these are the new TMC, or Transfer Model Curriculum degrees, that are required by the state. And you can see here that we have developed degrees to satisfy those requirements in 4 disciplines, actually 5: communication studies, early childhood education, math, sociology, and theater arts, kinesiology, business. So several of these degrees, and we also have a number of other degrees that were developed. So these were all developed since 2010. So these are relatively new programs. And this does not include our certificates. We also have a number of certificates that were approved since then. The other thing that we have worked really hard on is our commitment to student learning. So I'm going to get Pat Flood talk about our SLOs.
You know, part of what we want to do today is not just inform you as to what we've done in the last 6 years since our previous accreditation visit, which was 2006, but also to help you understand just how much we have accomplished within the last 6 years. You know, 6 years ago, we didn't have an online program review system. And we didn't have 100% participation. Now we have 100% participation in program review from all the various areas. We have an online SLO system, which I'll talk more about in just a moment. And we've got excellent participation in that. We've done a lot of things with technology, so we've made huge strides in how much that we've accomplished in the last 6 years. And I'm hoping that not only after you hear our presentation will you be updated and informed, but you'll also be enthusiastic and perhaps even excited about how much we have accomplished. You know, when I talk about SLOs, I get excited, so you're used to me. All right, one of the parts of our standard has to do with assessment of SLOs and how we've done at achieving the outcomes that we expect of our students, our institutional learning outcomes, our program learning outcomes, our course learning outcomes. And we've made a great deal of progress in this area. In 2007, I came on board as the SLO coordinator. I started out at 0.4 release time, that's 40%. And actually, I've stayed at 40%, but we now have an SLO assistant coordinator, Deborah Paulson, who would have been here today, but she's ill, unfortunately. But she's been truly my right-hand person. She's been wonderful. And we've developed our online SLO system, which is not just for course outcomes, it's also for program learning outcomes, as well as reporting results of institutional learning outcomes. It's made it so much easier for us to keep track of all the assessments that we've done and to follow up on them for improvements. We've also linked our SLO system with our program review system. So another major step that we've made in the last 6 years is we have fully integrated our planning processes. Our SLOs, our curriculum, our program review system, our resource allocation, they're all tied together. And we have widespread institutional dialogue, especially about SLOs, because you hear me talk at meeting after meeting. I give a report at Council of Instruction, Academic Senate, Curriculum, and Career Technical Education meetings. So you see me a lot. And we also have meetings on Flex Day, where we discuss the assessments that we have done the previous year. We meet at the Academic Senate in addition, and one of the most helpful things I think that we did in this last year and a half is we've been doing assessment reports in addition to the Excel spreadsheets that I've had the chairs do to keep me informed as to how they're doing on assessing their SLOs. We also have been doing assessment reports for the last year and a half, highlighting the major accomplishments in the SLO front, what was learned, changes that were implemented, resources that have been allocated as a result. And this was especially brought to light and at our assessment retreat, which was on last February, now a year ago. We had a chance to talk about our institutional outcomes survey that we did in the fall, and discuss the results of that. As a result of those discussions, we followed up with more in-depth assessments of our institutional learning outcomes this last fall. We're continuing with those, and the discussion will continue. We've got a huge number of courses that support each institutional learning outcome, and we want to further assess how we're doing at helping our students achieve these expected minimal competencies. We also discussed our program learning outcomes and our course learning outcomes. In addition, we discussed service area outcomes and our administrative unit outcomes, and developed plans for further work in all those fronts. So we've had some really great participation, and I thank you for all your enthusiasm regarding SLOs. We've also, another way that we responded to Standard 2A when we're talking about our quality of our instructional programs is to perform regular and systematic faculty evaluations. And as you know, SLOs and participation on the SLO assessments are part of those faculty evaluations, which help to motivate people to get their assessments done. We have also done quite a few surveys, institutional surveys. We had a faculty and staff survey that was done in 2011. We also, there were 156 faculty and staff that responded to that. We did a institutional learning outcomes survey that we had 512 people respond to that. And then we did a student survey this last spring to which 3,219 students responded. So we have a lot of data from that we have utilized in writing the instructional program section of Standard 2A. Our course level SLOs is a couple of charts that are part of our self-evaluation report. We're doing really well with our course level SLOs. We've got them well defined and ongoing assessment in almost 100%. We've discovered just a few holes, but we're pretty close to 100%. The changes implemented is about 52%, and we're actually a little bit higher now. And you might say, well, why isn't that 100%? Because not every faculty member makes a change as a result of doing an assessment. Sometimes we find what we're doing is working just fine. There wasn't anything we really had to improve or anything that we needed to write about in our SL report section of the online system. So that was at 52. We've also been working with our program level assessments and making great progress there. You can go on from there, Angela. So yes, okay. This is an example of one of the surveys that was done regarding institutional learning outcomes, that student survey to which over 3,000 students responded. We had it's about 10 questions that related to our institutional learning outcomes. By the way, the institutional learning outcomes are posted in a number of places. They're, of course, on our SLO website. They're on our Mission College website. They're posted in all the classrooms in addition. And just recently, they were printed on the wall of the Learning Resource Center, and I hope Marie Zanes will be showing an example of that. She worked all weekend getting those printed on the wall. So we want our students to be aware of these minimal competencies: written and oral communication, quantitative reasoning, ethical reasoning and problem solving, aesthetic appreciation, global awareness. These are areas that we want our students to have competency in by the time that they graduate or leave us, whether they're transferring or whether they're going on for an employment or gaining a certificate. Okay. Some of the areas of our strength, we've developed new instructional programs. We've got a number of transfer degrees that Angela talked about just a few minutes ago, quite a few new certificates. Our online program review that I mentioned previously is just outstanding. It's very user-friendly. We've got external evaluations of our program review as well as self-evaluations. For each department goes through this. There's an annual update as well as a 3-year comprehensive program review, which is then monitored by the Educational Planning Committee in the instructional areas. We have a very high success rate in our online classes, 68%, and this is equivalent to the success rate of our on-campus classes, 67%, and that's really unusual to have that high a success rate in online classes. In fact, it's the highest in the district. We have student success initiatives that we have been working with in achieving the dream. They're pilots in English, math, and counseling to help with student success. We have also obtained a number of grants in the last 6 years in career technical education, Title V, Title IV, and our STEM grants, science, technology, engineering, and math, that have helped to fund new courses and new programs. We have, compares the success rates of our online versus on-campus classes. Notice mission is in bold, and we're at 68%, so we're doing really well there. And the district average is only 58%. So we're 10 points higher. Don't you love that? Okay, yeah. Some of the areas of our strength. In addition, we've done revision of all our major planning documents. In fact, the last time the accreditors visited, we didn't have a strategic master plan. Now, we not only have one, but we update it every year. We use it. It's incorporated with our program review system. And we use it to guide our educational master plan, which has also been revised just recently, as well as our technology master plan. So all our planning documents are now integrated. Yes, 5 minutes. Okay, we have. Go back to that, Angela. There was. We talked about the SLOs, our curriculum updates. We didn't have an ECD system this 6 years ago. Now everything there is online. We have a lot of training and web-based resources for curriculum, SLOs, the Learning Resource Center, as well as EPC, and our shared governance structure actively supports the development and the currency of our high-quality educational programs. 6 years ago, we had just started our new shared governance system with the 6 committees that we have. We hadn't actually had them for very long, so we had a follow-up report that we had to do to be sure, a progress report first, that they were operating the way that we said that they were operating. 6 years later, they're still the same shared governance committees. They're working extremely well. Okay. Yeah. Angela will continue.
We did identify areas that need improvement. In particular, one of the things that we found very striking was the time that it takes our students to complete their educational programs. In particular, what we found was the certificates. The time it takes our students to get their certificates is very long, and it takes our students a median of 4 years versus 3 years in the district. So I'm just going to show you this table, and I'll come back to this here. So now certificates, usually the number of units vary anywhere from maybe 18 or more units, it depends, but you wouldn't expect a certificate to take longer or as long as an associate degree. But what we found is that our students take on average a year longer than the district, and we thought that's a concern. Why are students taking 4 years to get a certificate that is 18, 24, or 36 units? It doesn't really make sense. So we actually wrote a plan to try to address that issue. As far as our associate degrees, you can see our students take about 4 years, which is average with the district. The only college that takes less than that is Pierce College. It takes them about 3 years to get their associate degrees. So it would be interesting to find out how they accomplish that. So that is one of the major issues we found, and we know that anecdotally, we know that it takes students a long time to get through their programs here. The program viability process was another one. There were two actionable improvement plans that Dart's going to talk about later to deal with that, in particular the PACE program. We are conducting a program viability on the PACE program, and the process itself is going to be reviewed to see if it is a good process or not. So those were two of the areas that we found that needed improvement. Obviously we all know that the time it takes to get course updates and new courses approved is longer than we would like as well. So we have a big backlog in curriculum, and we're trying to address that as well. And of course, the budget cuts have made it difficult to offer enough courses so that students can get through their programs. All right, so I'm going to go hand it off to Dart now. He's going to talk about the actionable improvement plans. We had 5 of these for 2A.
So the first one is a long list of the people that are involved. Long list of the people who are involved. And really it's a large part of the college, but the key is the last part of it here. Identify barriers to completion and develop strategies to decrease the amount of time it takes our students to complete certificates of achievement. That was the area she just talked about, where we're a year longer than pretty much everybody else in the system. Another of the plans has to do with SLOs and really PLOs and ILOs. Keep doing what we've been doing successfully so far. Expand it so that we're doing the same thing for ILOs that we're already doing well for SLOs and PLOs. So that's really about the SLO system. The Transfer Center Coordinator, Counselor Coordinator, along with the Counseling Department, Dean of Student Services, are working to increase utilization, really, and awareness of the Transfer and Career Center. And the last two have to do with the viability process here. The PACE program is currently undergoing a viability process, and we're committed to completing that process by the end of this semester. While that is going on, the EPC is re-examining our viability process and potentially rewriting it. That won't affect the PACE program's process. It goes on with the viability system as it's now written. But we may very well decide, I mean, part of the reason we're doing this is because the PACE process has alerted us to a couple of problems, flaws maybe in the way it was written. That too we hope to have completed by the end of this semester. And that's it. Have we got time for questions? Are there any questions?